In April 2018, we had Cybernetic Horizon, which had our first ritual monster in Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains, Cyber's Magician, on the cover. In July of 2018, we had our first fusion monster on the cover of Soul Fusion, Cyber's Clock Dragon. In October of 2018, we had our first synchro monster in Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains on the cover of Savage Strike, which was Revolver's Borreload XCharge Dragon. In January of 2019, we had our first XYZ monster in VRains, which was Firewall XCharge Dragon. So all our eyes were turned to Rising Rampage, which is due to come out in the OCG in April of 2019. We finally got the cover card for that pack, and unfortunately, the pattern does not continue. Hello everyone, it is Dylan from Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains discussion video. Really just more of a Yu-Gi-Oh! Video in general, actually. And I'm going to be analyzing whether the cover card for Rising Rampage, we're going to go over that. We're going to go over a bunch of other anime-related stuff that is coming out in the packs. Rising Rampage and the collection pack. We are going to go over that, but the main focus of this video, of course, is going to be a discussion video, and I do want to hear from you guys on whether this was the one chance or a big chance that Pendulums had to come into the show. And because they are not on the cover of Rising Rampage, which again breaks the pattern that I just went over in the beginning of this video, does that mean that Pendulums are not going to appear in Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains? So I'm going to give my thoughts about that. And before I get into that, before I get into whether I think Pendulums are not going to be in, most likely not going to be in, or definitely will be in, yada yada yada, we are going to go over the actual cover card for Rising Rampage, which I'm sure a few of you have seen by this point. If you follow any of the card game Yu-Gi tubers, I'm sure that they have covered it. And the cover is another XYZ monster. So we had Ritual, we had Fusion, Synchro, XYZ, and now another XYZ. Was kind of maybe anticipating Pendulums, but of course we did not get it, very obviously. So the XYZ monster is going to be one that Revolver is going to use because it is a Borreload monster. Revolver is going to use it in an upcoming duel. I'm not going to say what duel that is out of respect for people who do not want spoilers, but we can expect Revolver to use this probably within the next 2 to 3, 4 episodes. I'd say around episode 97, 98, I would anticipate seeing this guy, and this monster is VRains or Borreload XCharge Dragon. It is a rank 4 Dark Dragon XYZ effect monster. So Revolver, who synchro summoned Borreload Savage Dragon, he is not ritualed yet, right? Revolver is not ritualed, but he has synchroed. And does this mean that he's going to have all of the summoning methods, rituals included? Probably not. But he will be the first one besides Playmaker that has synchroed and XYZ'd, right? I believe that is true. I don't think Soulburner synchroed, unless I'm misremembering events, but which I tend to do often. But anyway, let's get into the monster's effects. So the XYZ materials are 2 level 4 Dark Dragon monsters, so it's not a generic rank 4. And here are the effects. This XYZ summon card cannot be targeted by the effects of other monsters. Once per turn, you can detach 1 material from this card, then target 1 face-up monster on the field. For the rest of this turn, you cannot special summon monsters, and your monsters cannot attack directly. Also, the targeted monster loses 600 attack/defense. Then you can special summon 1 Boral monster from your graveyard, but it is banished during the end phase. So I've heard from a lot of people, and even myself, who I'm not by any means an expert at this game. I wouldn't even say I'm semi-decent at the game of the very complex game of Yu-Gi-Oh! This card does not really seem that great to me. It's cool that you can special summon a Boral monster. Obviously, you can, bring back a monster from the grave to your field, but the fact that it gets banished during the end phase seems a little extreme. And not only that, but you can't special summon any other monsters. Once you use an overlay unit, you can't special summon monsters, and you can't attack directly. And all you're doing to the other monster on your opponent's field that you're targeting is making it lose 600 attack and defense. So it really seems like a very underwhelming effect, especially because it's not even a generic rank 4 monster. Like, I feel like there's just better rank 4s to go into. It does have 3,000 attack points, which is pretty good for a rank 4, but the effect does not seem really that great. I'm sure it will be very good in a specific situation that Revolver will find himself in, so I'm very excited for that. In terms of the design, I think the design of the monster is actually really, really sick. I always like when they use, like, red coloring for whatever reason. I've kind of noticed that about myself. Like, black and red are 2 colors that I think that match up really well. And the red coloring on this monster's artwork is really cool. So I do like the design a lot. I think it's going to be cool to see it animated. In terms of practical use in the game, Tell me if I'm wrong, but it just does not seem like that good of a card. But maybe I am incorrect about that. I know I've seen a lot of people complaining about, well, not complaining, but just stating that it's not a very viable card to use for most situations. But if you want to counter-argue that, or if you want to add on to why you think this card is not very good or just mediocre, please let me know, because I do love covering the card game aspect of things, mainly to read what you guys have to say about it, because I do learn quite a lot about the game and about the cards. So before I get into the other news, actually let me very quickly, because I'm not going to go deep into it, some other anime decks, or anime cards, I guess you can say, that are being printed. Shinji Weber, remember that guy from Arc 5, the Revolution dude that used Battle Wasps, the B archetype? Well, they are being printed in the Collection Pack 2019 over in the OCG, so that is really cool. We are getting a Vision Hero support card. I don't know if it's just one or multiple, but Vision Heroes, if you do not read the GX manga, you're like, does he mean Destiny Heroes? Does he mean Elemental Heroes? No, Vision Heroes were used by Edo, I believe it was by Edo, in the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. It's been a while since I read the GX manga, but Vision Heroes were in the manga, so that's cool. We also have a Fortune Lady card that is being printed, a spell card. I don't know if there's more Fortune Lady support. I think there is, besides the spell card, but I wanted to show the spell card because the Millennium Widget, or the Eye of Widjot, however you say it, the symbol that are on these cards, I love it. I love the whole Ancient Egypt tie here. And just kind of the throwback to that. So really cool design on the artwork that this card has is probably one of my favorite artworks that I have seen of all the new cards in these coming sets. So really kudos to them. I don't know why, I just really love the card. And in terms of VRains, Marincess, which I think we all expected, are being printed. I believe 7 of her Marincess cards that were all used against Haru are being printed, so that is really cool. Again, not going to go into crazy detail about how good the decks are and all that stuff. A big thank you, by the way, to Jesse Wood for letting me know all of the anime and manga cards that were announced, just kind of double-checking my work, so big thank you to him. And I'm not going to go over what I think of these cards in terms of a meta standpoint, because one, there's plenty of other Yu-Gi-Oh! Tubers that can help you with that way better than I can, and two, you at home could probably analyze it way better than I can, so I'm not going to waste your time and go into that. The main point of this video, not only to go over the card that Revolver is going to use, but to go over if I think that Pendulums are not going to appear in VRains, or if I think there still is a chance they are going to appear in VRains. Just because this pattern is broken obviously does not mean that Pendulums are not going to appear. I think that they will need to be on the cover for a booster pack. We still have 3 packs during Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains. We have the one that's going to be in July of 2019, October of 2019, and January of 2020. Now, yes, I believe the one in April of 2020 will still pertain to Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains, even though that's going to be kind of when VRains is ending. Although I'm not 100% sure about that. I don't know how that works, if that one is going to have to do with VRains. But I'm not counting that one, because if they pull out the pendulum mechanic with like 5 episodes to go, because we're going to be at the last like month of VRains when the April booster pack monster comes out of 2020, so I'm not really counting that one. Realistically, there's 3 more booster packs that a pendulum monster can be on the cover of and be used in Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains. I did a video way back in like episode 5 where I said that pendulums are not going to be in VRains, mainly because the pendulum marker did not appear on the official board when they showed it in the dueling class. So I said, or the logic I used was, oh, well, there's no pendulum marker. If pendulums were in this universe, there would be a pendulum marker there. And people were like, well, maybe they just forgot to put it in, or maybe you can't do it in speed duels, because they were showing the speed duel board, which was fair. And when we had synchros and XZs, I figured there was a decent chance that pendulums would be for Rising Rampage, especially because when the name Rising Rampage came out, I thought about Zark. Zark, for whatever reason, was the first character that I thought about when I thought Rampage, and I was like, you know what? I think pendulums might be on their way, but they are not, as of now. It kind of makes more sense to put a pendulum on the next booster pack in July of 2019, because that's when the new season is most likely going to be underway. For anyone to use a pendulum now, whether it was going to be Lightning or Bowman or Playmaker or Revolver, it would have just not really made as much sense, because we're at the very end of the arc. Why has Pendulums not shown up in any of these characters' decks beforehand? I really think that if Pendulum Summoning is going to be utilized by a character, it has to be a character we have not seen duel before. Maybe a queen, or a new, and maybe a queen, maybe like a queen, the character, not a queen. I just wanted to clarify for people that aren't watching VRains, she is a character in the show. Maybe like a Hayami, probably, I doubt she'll duel, but you know what I mean, a character, maybe a Jin that we have yet to see duel that somehow has the pendulum mechanic in their deck. I think that would make sense, because remember, you need multiple pendulum cards to pendulum summon. You need at least 3, 2 to set the scales, and, well, actually, I guess you really just need 2. But you'd imagine that if pendulums are going to be in VRains, the entire deck is going to have to be pendulum-based, or most of the deck will be pendulum-based, so it has to be a new character, in my opinion, if it's going to happen, which just makes more sense for it to be in maybe July or October of this year for those booster packs. So we're just going to have to wait and see. I don't think pendulums are a done deal yet, but as I've been doing with this entire show, I am leaning towards the side of no pendulums in Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains. Then again, I was leaning more towards the side of no synchros and no XZs, and they kind of came out of nowhere, and as we are in our most likely final year of this anime, maybe pendulums will come out of nowhere as well. It's definitely not out of the question, even though Rising Rampage did break the pattern, and the pattern again would have been Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, XZs, Pendulums. Instead, we get double XZs. But there's by no means does this clinch or guarantee the fact that Pendulums will not be in VRains. I just think it is. I would put it at unlikely. I would even go that far and say it's maybe even very unlikely to see Pendulums. It's definitely not out of the question, though. But you guys let me know all your thoughts. Let me know if the fact that Rising Rampage's cover card is not a Pendulum monster pretty much clinches it for you that most likely we will not see Pendulums, or if it's still too early to tell. And let me know if you would like to see Pendulums. I know there's a lot of people who would like to see Pendulums. There's also a lot of people that I get in the comments that say, please keep Pendulums out of VRains. So, yeah, please let me know where you stand on that argument as well, and let me know all your thoughts on the new support coming out in Rising Rampage. A special thank you to my Platinum tier patrons, Alexa Baker, Glen McGookin, Jorge Carrillo, James Rose, Omni Lord, Samuel Stark, Thomas Adderley, Horace Maye, and Amber Crystal, and to my Diamond tier patrons, Jesse Wood and Bouldergeist, and to my Egyptian God tier patrons, Syn Cloud and Chris Swan. Thank you to everyone who supports me over on Patreon. It really does help me out so much. I don't know if I would be able to do this channel full time if it was not for you guys. So again, huge thank you to everyone who supports me over there, and a thank you to everyone who just watches my videos, because without you guys, Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything would not be a thing. So thank you all from the bottom of my heart. I will talk to you down below in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day.
Logging in, it's time to conquer all my dreams.